Today I'm doing a live Christmas ornament production video. Tomorrow is my first craft fair of the year, so I'll be trying to fill up my kiln. I've got a Bluebird XL over here. I'm about to turn that on. I'm gonna start by doing some prep. I'm gonna grab some 10 mil, or it might be 9.5 by 2 mil. That's what I use for blow tubes, a bunch of this stuff. I like thinner blow tubes myself. Next, I'll be grabbing some 32 by 4, or is 31.7. The last time I ordered glass, I couldn't get 32 by 4, so I'll be breaking down some blanks, filling up the kiln, and I'm just gonna keep this going. I'm gonna make a bunch of Christmas ornaments. Here's a Carmeline one that I made last night. And then I think this might have been purple luster. So I'm just gonna do a whole bunch of these, maybe do some other shapes, maybe do some dots instead of lines. If you wanna keep watching while I do prep, cool. If you wanna come back later on, once I've got a few ornaments made, I'll be into production in a while, but yeah, I'm just gonna keep the live going as long as I can and show you guys some Christmas ornament production, whether I run out of glass, gas, or room in the kiln, whatever comes first. I'm gonna try and keep this going for a while. Eventually I'll set up my other camera too, so I can grab another angle once I move on to actually producing ornaments. I'd like to get some good shots over my shoulder, so that I can cut this down for some good tutorials later. I'm gonna link in the description later on to my older Christmas ornament video from last year. I did some silver fume ones, so this is gonna be a little bit different. And like I said, I wanna do some of these, but I'm also gonna try and go for a few of these shapes too. Some other variety to, spice things up on the table at the craft fair tomorrow. We'll see how much I can get done before I run out of room or gas. One of those will come first, I'm not sure. Or I'll just give up, who knows. But probably pull out some blow tubes. Yeah, so my plan is to flare a handful of blow tubes first. So I like to try and balance these full tubes on a finger. That finds me a center point that's pretty close to even. I'll score and snap them. Pretty close around there. Okay, so the ones that need polishing on both ends, I'm going to place right down there. The ones that I know that I can puff on without cutting my lip, I'll put on my tool rest. One of those always focus when you're trying to figure out which end is ready to work. So I've got a variety of color shorts on the workbench right now too. This one's like, I'm pretty sure this is purple luster. Some amber purple. Loki's lipstick. I think this was Mai Tai pink. I kind of forget what these are sometimes when they're on the workbench. And I got a couple chunks of Aquatic Carnival here. So, color shorts collect on the workbench. Christmas time's a great time to burn through a bunch of them. And I like these strikers. They're fun to make ornaments with. They have a nice effect. They catch the light and look different depending on how things are lit. But yeah, just gonna probably grab one more of those tubes. Try to be prepared to keep working. It's nice to get into the groove of one step and just doing it over and over. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, like throw them in the chat. I'll try and check periodically throughout the video. See if I can see if anybody's around so far. If anybody's asking questions anyways. Oh, come on. There we go. Keeney Powers? What's up? Yeah. So hopefully throughout the live I can give you guys some pointers that maybe you can learn something from what I'm up to. Christmas ornaments tend to be fairly popular at craft fairs, so I have a lot. And then there's some local shops that I want to get some stuff into as well. So if I sell out at the craft fair this weekend, I'll have to get back on this on Monday. I've always been a little behind on trying to do this sort of thing. I've never really quite enjoyed Christmas ornament production, but I've been getting a lot more into it lately. It's kind of a good exercise to just like rinse and repeat a task and figure it out. But yeah, we'll try and use this didymium clip this time. Get the filter on the camera so that maybe it'll cut out a bit of the soda flare. People keep commenting on that. Okay. Oh. I saw a comment there. What's going on? Why? Oh, come on. There we go. I'm kind of awful at this whole live thing. Really just trying to see the live chat. I'm going to give up on that right now, though. So yeah, let's get to flaring some blow tubes and... I'm actually going to start with those, all those tubes that have the sharp ends on both ends and just clean up one end. And I'll do two at a time because this is like basic work. Just quickly polish up those edges so they can't cut me later. But we'll put those down all together, facing away from us. Like hot glass looks like cold glass. You don't want to pick these up too soon and move on to trying to use them. But that's why I'm gonna prep 8 blow tubes at once. So like we can put these down, let them cool off, and just get to flaring these other ones. jacks. I'm gonna put a little bit of beeswax on them. Really doesn't seem like that didymium filter does too much. I need to get a better didymium look for the camera. That's why I put those first blow tubes down, like that hot end is just warm now, so we're good to go on flaring the other 4 of these. Wax ripped on the tube here. It's a bit of a pain in the ass when it's all warm still. And get a bit of that beeswax off of there. There's a little too much. Last one. There's some of that 32x4 already broken down. Got a bunch of 44x4 on the bench. I really prefer this size tubing for this work. So unfortunately, this whole case, when I got it last year, got dropped on its end. Somebody in shipping smashed like a quarter of my box. It sucked. But I managed to clean all the broken glass out of it, and I've gotten almost perfectly pristine tubing out of all of it. So that was nice, even if it did take me a whole day's work. But yeah, so now we're gonna start to break that down and then start to line up a few sections so that I can start lining blanks up in my kiln. And I haven't turned the kiln on yet. I'm actually going to use the blanks to start to pre-warm the kiln. I live in the northwest corner of British Columbia, just shy of being in Alaska pretty much. So my kiln is always colder than it wants to be first thing in the morning. First snap's always the hard one. Sometimes I'll score and snap them with a hot rod on the workbench, but I don't feel like mucking around like that today. two hot ends, I just go up on top of my kiln, so it's out of my way. I don't want to touch that hot end. Factory end goes down on the workbench. The one with two hot ends goes on top of the kiln. I repeat myself a lot because this job's competitive. It's like certain mantras, like a lot of safety things that, like, somebody asked me yesterday. I turned off my oxygen first. So, turning your oxygen off first is one of the ways. It's like, you don't turn your propane off first because the torch is more likely to pop. You don't reach over the flame. Anything you want, you pass around the back of the torch or under the flame, and very conscientiously. Like, the flame's hot. I put my hand in there enough times. Under the torch, grab my finger. And I always try to keep it on the same side of the torch. And now I'm just going to flare this end and get it ready for a blow tube. Size that constriction that I made, right? Close to the same size. Bench rollers over here. They're actually just like some old stage trucks on a 2x4. Just trying to straighten out that blow tube before I section this down again. And right now I'm going to section this down big enough for 2 Christmas ornaments, so I can handle up to the other end with a separate blow tube and break this in half later. Solid constriction. Let it chill a little bit, give it a wiggle. And kind of wiggle it while pushing together a touch. You find if you stretch it, it relieves some of the stress. Polish up that broken end. And this one's going in the kiln right now so that it can start to pre-warm the like I said, this case got dropped on its end, so still some flakes of glass inside, but try and pull them out every so often. Christmas ornament production is not really that important. I'm not so worried about having pristine, perfect tubing for this kind of task. Seems like people really like bubbles anyways. As much as I hate them. Time, that'll get a little short for me to grab onto, so shrink down that factory machine end, like the wider end, try and probably close it up and puff it back out, get a nice pull for the next load. Much on one arm. No, I think that's good enough. I'm not going to close it up. But because I thickened that, I'm going to want to puff it out, because that'd be a bit of a rough connection. Without this blue poster tack, I use it to plug my blow tubes. Some people use like earplugs, other rubber stoppers and things. Want to stick today. I thought maybe that end of the blow tube was dirty. I think it's too clean. See how that goes. Left here is probably enough for 5 ornaments. So I'm going to try and take a blank that's about enough for 2 off one end. Let's try to give me manageable sections. Well, I've got space enough for one more blank in the kiln, so we can handle up to at least one more. So I've got at least 2 or 3 craft fairs coming up, and at least a couple shops that I'd like to have my work available in. So my hope is to get enough of these Christmas ornaments made that I can stock everyone a little better than I ever have in the past. Oddly enough, I've barely done any production this year, and I still have more than I've had in the past, so trying to up my volume. That's it for prepping blanks for now. Still got a couple sections of tubing here that I can add to the bunch if I need them. But now I'm going to get on to making some ornaments. And since I really love this carmeline one, I think I might start with one of these. So I've got a rod of carmeline that I've pulled down. Got a bit of an odd end. I was trying to make rings and got this flattened end. But we're going to, start with one of the blanks out of the kiln. I've got one that's already sectioned down to make one of these. Then we'll go to striping it, twisting it up, and puffing it out. And then I might move on to the Mai Tai pink that I've already got on a handle. Mai Tai pink always looks really good after it comes out of the kiln. And we'll probably try some Loki's lipstick after that. Get that kiln running too. Got an old t-shirt to get rid of any kiln dust. I'm gonna start by just like warming up this blank, kind of a bushy propane, like lots of propane in the flame. Start with two lines, always like opposite each other, so that I can really try to kind of divide the tube in half. And give it a little warm after that. Doesn't need much, but there's a lot of stress in the glass if you let the end get cold. Try and get right in between the two. Travel straight down. And move the piece you're putting the line onto, not the rod. Just kind of let the glass settle into its place. You don't want to force it. Four nice lines. Now I want to get the most of the way melted in before I start the twist. There, that's a little better. Letting these twists get real weird. You puff them out, they really even out. But I still want some waves to the walls, so that's kind of why I like twist really aggressively instead of like a little slower. Takes a little while to get all the heat into it, so you can blow it out that thin, but once it's there, it's quick. Warmed up. Part of that. Pull a nice thin section out. Get that part very close. Push it together with my tweezers. And then often pull it back out just a little bit. go, number one. Really like this carmeline line work for these. The way it kind of like really gives these optical waves. Should probably try a few more of these transparent colors. Trying to decide on my type pink or Loki's lipstick first, and I think Loki's lipstick reacts a little faster in the flame, starts to strike out sooner, so do that one first.